I have to bring you this story just because it's hilarious. Apparently, President Trump visited Mount Vernon yesterday, and it was amazing. Oh, actually, it was last April, I guess, but the report is only emerging now. Apparently, during a guided tour of Mount Vernon last April with French President Emmanuel Macron, this is according to Politico, President Trump learned that Washington was one of the major real estate speculators of his era. So he couldn't understand why America's first president didn't name his historic Virginia compound or any other property he acquired after himself. According to 3 sources briefed on the exchange, Trump said, "If he was smart, he would have put his name on it. You got to put your name on stuff, or no one remembers you." Yes, clearly, no one remembers George Washington. The VIP tour for the evening, Mount Vernon President and CEO Doug Bradburn then told Trump that Washington did, after all, succeed in getting the nation's capital named after him. And Trump said, "Good point." Pretty spectacular. Apparently, that wasn't the only hilarious comment that he made. The president's disinterest in Washington made it tough for the tour guide Bradburn to sustain Trump's interest during a deluxe 45-minute tour of the property, which he later described to associates as truly bizarre. The Macrons, Bradburn has told several people, were far more knowledgeable about the history of the property than the president. A former history professor with a PhD, Bradburn was desperately trying to get Trump interested in Washington's house, said a source familiar with the visit. So he spoke in terms Trump understands best, telling the president that Washington was an 18th century real estate titan who had acquired property throughout Virginia and what would come to be known as Washington, D.C. Trump then asked whether Washington was really rich, according to a second person familiar with the visit. In fact, Washington was indeed incredibly wealthy. Part of that is that the widow that he married, Mary Custis, was incredibly wealthy. This is what Trump was really the most excited about, the person said. Apparently, if Trump was impressed with Washington's real estate instincts, he was less taken by Mount Vernon itself, which the first president personally expanded from a modest 1.5-story home into an 11,000 square foot mansion. The rooms, Trump said, were too small, the staircases too narrow, and he even spotted some unevenness in the floorboards, according to 4 sources briefed on his comments. He said he could have built the place better and for less money. That's our president, ladies and gentlemen. Solid stuff from the president of the United States. My goodness. Okay, we're living inside a comedy. There's just no other. Okay, all right, fine. My goodness. Yeah, only the father of our country, but the floorboards here, they're a little uneven. If I were living in 1787, I would have built this totally differently. And I would have named it Trump House. Trump House, big T on the front, Trump House. And then people would have remembered me. As opposed to George, who even remembers George Washington anymore? He's a state named after him, the Capitol named after him, the Washington Monument named after him, a couple of sports teams. But, who cares? Did he build a big tower with a big gold T or W on it? No, he didn't.